South Carolina's new immigration law is scheduled to go into effect next January. It will allow local police to act as immigration officers and require people who are pulled over for things like routine traffic stops, like a broken taillight, to prove that they're American citizens or face getting reported to immigration officials. Here to talk about the new law from a legal perspective is Robert Lowe from the Lowe Law Office, one of Charleston's leading immigration law firms. Robert, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Andy.
Tell us why federal courts all over the country are blocking laws like this one from going into effect.
Well, the essence of what the federal courts are doing is they're applying what's called the Supremacy Clause of the United States Constitution, being that if the U.S. Congress has decided to legislate in a certain area, those powers are reserved to the United States. What what Arizona and other states have done is trying to fix what the federal government has failed to fix.
Well, has the federal government really failed to fix when there may not be really something to fix?
Well, I think that it's generally agreed that the immigration system is broken. Unfortunately, there has been no major changes to the immigration law for the past 20 years. And what the country's been trying to do is divert all its resources to Customs and Border Patrol protection. Significantly, in the last 20 years, the Border Patrol budget's increased ninefold. So that's where it's going. I think we need comprehensive
Robert, my problem
reform.
with that, though, is this is a law enforcement function of the states, when really what we should be looking for is how can we absorb those people from other countries who are going to bring benefits and improve the life of our country. And it seems like we've totally ignored how we're going to assimilate these people.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly. Interestingly, there are only 5,000 slots annually for non-skilled workers in the United States.
You know, and this country is built on immigrants. Have we forgotten that?
I certainly haven't forgotten it, Andy, and I know you haven't.
Well, we spoke with a local Hispanic community activist recently, and she says she's fielding 70 calls a day from worried people. Are you seeing this type of trend in your practice?
I am. As a matter of fact, I saw a lady from France, oddly enough, who's very concerned about the passage of the law and what's going to happen in January of next year. And I'm back to the office and rescheduled a number of appointments today from people who are really concerned about what the effect of this law is going to have on them while they're in the process.
Well, Robert, I'm glad you brought that up because so many people think this is about Mexicans and South Americans, and it's really not. It's about Germans, about Irish, it's about French, it's about all the so-called Europeans that have built this country.
That's absolutely right, Andy. We're seeing people, as I said, from France, we're seeing people from England, we're seeing people from Israel, we're seeing people from all other ilks. Yesterday I was consulted with a lady from Africa.
It's unbelievable to me. Can these kind of laws be effective in the way they've been designed to be effective, that is, lock people up and get rid of them?
I don't think that locking people up and getting rid of them is the proper solution. And I think the trend within the United States is toward trying to move toward comprehensive immigration reform. I just returned last week from the National Conference of the American Immigration Lawyers Association, and the Immigration Customs Enforcement Director, who's John Morton, issued a memorandum following that conference in which he directed that prosecutorial discretion be employed with respect to many immigrant classes.
Well, you know, I live out on Johns Island. I think our viewers know that well. And every day I pass hundreds of people who are not born in this country who are doing the hardest work in agriculture, in landscaping, in construction. And I'm wondering, how difficult is it for those people to obtain a citizenship in our country today?
It's virtually non-existent, virtually non-existent. The H programs severely limit the number of professional people that are able to come to this country, much less those who are unskilled. I mentioned the 5,000 quota annually with respect to these non-skilled people. So with the passage of this law, these people become felons, and people who employ them are becoming felons. People who transport them become felons.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I work like you do every day in the courthouse downtown, and I remember when that courthouse was built not very long ago. It was built by immigrants, many of which were likely not legal immigrants. What are we going to do? We can't just lock all these people up. We can't lock up half the population of Johns Island and send them to Mexico or South America.
Comprehensive immigration reform, enforcement is very important, but also a path to let these people at least work.
Which I think we're ignoring. But let's talk to law enforcement, because that seems to be the driving factor with Governor Haley and whatnot. How many law enforcement personnel are trained properly to effectively enforce this law?
It's a very interesting question, and you'd think the number is much larger than it actually is. There's a program called the 287G program, and it's a program between the Homeland Security and local law enforcement agencies, where local law enforcement agents, usually deputy sheriffs, become trained in immigration procedures. And those officers are permitted to ask people who are on the street what their immigration status is. Andy, because you and I are citizens, the police just can't stop us because they don't like the way that we look and ask us what our citizenship is. But 287G officers have that power. Sheriff Arpaio in Arizona has that power. But nationwide, as of January of 2010, there are 1,087 287G officers in the United States.
That's a joke. That's less than 1%.
That's right.
You know, I wanted the sheriff to come on the program today, and our producer contacted the sheriff's department because I really wanted to ask him. He's got a brand new jail across the street. It's overbuilt. They've got more cells than they have inmates. This is a money deal for the sheriff. Tell us about that. Tell our viewers how it's in the sheriff's financial best interest to lock these people up.
Well, I can tell you what the effect has been on our clients, the people who contact us after their loved ones have been picked up for example, not having a tail light, and then they get a tail light out and they get stopped by the police, and the 287 officer will do a check on him and find out that he's illegal. What happens is that the local authorities will ship these undocumented aliens to the Charleston jail. And within 48 hours, they have to be served with a notice to appear by immigration. And at that point, immigration has to pay for the beds. And so immigration, before they built the facility in Georgia, had to keep these people in the Charleston Detention Center.
So let's call it what it is. It's a moneymaker for local law enforcement, for the sheriff's department. Let me ask you a scenario that we see every day in this county. We see Native Americans, not native in the sense of Indians, but natural-born American citizens, criminals, go out and rob Asian restaurants, members of the Hispanic community, day in and day out, robbing, raping, and murdering them. And now you're telling me under this law, the victims of crime and the witnesses to offensive criminal conduct by citizens can't be reported. Because if those non-citizens report murders, rapes, and robberies, they'll be locked up.
There's a big detriment to staying away from law enforcement. There's no question about that. When I went to law school in 1982, I was confronted with Hispanics who were in law school who were afraid of the police. And one of the reasons that they're afraid of police is because they have learned to fear the police because their parents were not born in the United States. So we've created this subculture of folks, this underground subculture of folks who are afraid of the police. I didn't grow up with that. My parents were born in the United States, but these people are.
You know, Robert, if you listen to some of the politicians that are involved in this, you would think that the immigrants are sucking the lifeblood out of our country. They talk about the tremendous costs that we have because of illegal immigration. What's your take on that?
Well, one of the major perceptions deals with, of course, the tax issue and, of course, the benefit and Social Security, which us baby boomers are very concerned about. I will tell you that most of the people that come into both my Charleston and Bluffton offices, I would say 90% of them pay taxes. Nationwide, studies have shown that 1/2 to 3/4 of unauthorized immigrants pay federal and state income taxes, Social Security taxes, and Medicare taxes. What's most dramatic to me, and something that I just learned recently from San Diego, is that the Social Security Administration has concluded that unauthorized immigrants account for a major portion of the billions of dollars paid into the Social Security system under the names of Social Security numbers that don't match SSA records. As of 2003, the reported earnings on those payments, which are based, were $520 billion.
Wait a minute now. What you're saying is the statistics, the accurate, factual statistics are that immigrants are paying money into Social Security from which they receive no benefits because they can't list their Social Security number. So it's pure profit, and that profit's $520
billion.
Billion?
$520 billion.
That's incredible. Plus, are they paying taxes on the cars that they drive, the gas that they buy, the groceries that they buy in the store, the clothing that they wear? Are they paying property taxes either directly or through their landlord?
No question about it. But you know what? They're not allowed to drive those cars. And under this new law, they'd be committing a felony to do so.
Even though they're paying their taxes.
Exactly right. And which means they can't get insurance either.
Well, Robert Lowe, interesting perspective on this so-called problem we have with immigrations. Thanks so much for coming in. You can count on me sending you any questions I have about immigration laws. Next, find out why many people are asking how long the new South Carolina law will last before it's stopped in federal court. But first, do you think the new state law is going to be effective? Let us know what you think at c2savagereport.com, and we'll be right back.